CM Sportsnet presents Sports Talk at Island Green.
Greetings and welcome to episode 3 of Sports Talk at the Island Green here in Westminster, Maryland, right here on Carroll Media Center. I'm Avery Newport, your host. So glad to be back here again for the third straight week. Unfortunately, Skyler Fultz, the head coach for McDaniel Green football, could not make it here tonight. So instead, we have David Sarton, who is the offensive line coach for the Green Terror and was the interim head coach for last year's team. Dave, thanks so much for pinch hitting here.
Oh, man, awesome. I'm really excited to be out here today representing McDaniel and Westminster, and just excited for the opportunity. And I want to thank Coach Fultz for trusting me to come on his radio show. So I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, it's a big responsibility. So, yeah, you got some big shoes to fill. But, we'll go right into talking some Green Terror football here. You were at home this past weekend on Saturday, hosting William Patterson from Wayne, New Jersey, losing at home 27-14, the final score in your previous game this weekend. Coach, just real quickly, give me some thoughts about how you think the game went and what went wrong and how you can try and prepare and fix those mistakes for next week.
Well, I think it's just continuing to improve. I mean, if you look at it, with 4 minutes to go, we're moving the ball. We had a chance to get, within a one-score game and, an extra point of being, right back in the football game. So it's kind of about just finishing, every drive. At times we did, at times we didn't. But, regardless of the score, if you look at the, the overall game tape, there was some good things. But, even the last 2 weeks, we've been in position late in the games to be competitive and have a chance to, climb that hurdle and get that maybe unexpected win. And, the kids continuing just to believe like, hey, we're in these football games. Let's just, continue to improve. And that's what we've done each week with Coach Fultz.
Yeah, it's a lot of what I saw this past weekend. I was in the booth. I was doing the play-by-play commentary for our broadcast on the Centennial Conference Digital Network. And so I got to see how great a start the defense had, especially in the first half, getting a 52-yard pick six from the senior safety Bailey Himes to get the scoring started in that first quarter. The defense definitely showed a lot of flashes in this past game. They recovered 2 fumbles, they forced 3, they got the pick six, obviously. They got on the board to start the scoring in the first quarter. So the defense, I think, showed a lot of potential. Tell me about your thoughts on the defense's performance with recovering turnovers, with forcing turnovers, and how you think they fared overall.
Well, I think the defense, played really well, and they're an experienced group. I mean, Coach Piercy and the defensive staff has had this group now for 2 years, and we're reaping the benefits of some of that. And that just shows, the whole calendar year of working with Coach Piercy, Coach Johnson, the defensive staff, Coach Provenzano. They've been in the system now for a year, and those are older kids that are playing, that are making plays. So, really as a program, speaking for, our program and Coach Fultz, but just really excited about their development and where they continue to go and playing with an attitude and playing with a chip on their shoulder. We need to, convert some of those turnovers into touchdowns, and that'll come with time as we get into Coach Fultz's offense and start gelling as an offensive unit. So excited about the direction and excited about what the defense has done for our program so far with setting us up with some turnovers and things like that.
Yeah, I'd like to talk about Bailey Himes, too. I mentioned that he had the pick six in the first quarter, and he really led the way again defensively with that touchdown, but also having a great nose for the ball, making the tackles in the open field, just providing that leadership presence on the defensive side of the football. Now, I know you're the offensive line coach, but you were the head coach of this team last year, and you've worked with Bailey before. So tell me about how he's impacted not just the defensive unit, but the team as a whole in his senior year and your experience working with him as well.
Yeah, he really, I think he's having a great senior year. He, wasn't with us last fall and, over the course of time wanted to come back and play football and approach us this summer. And, it's a total compliment, but he's been a pleasant surprise, and he's added some depth. He's added some leadership, and, he's a kid that maybe he walked away and realized, you know what, I want to continue to play, and that's what, this level's about. And he got the opportunity to come back with, visiting with Coach Fultz, and he's taken full advantage of his opportunities. And, that's been huge. I mean, he has been a pleasant surprise for our defense, and it's allowed our defense to do some things, whether it's getting an extra guy in the box, causing turnovers, making more havoc for the offense. So he's been a guy that coming into camp, it was like, we'll see. And he's taking advantage of every rep that he's gotten, and he's taking advantage of, quote unquote, a second chance. And you know what? Good for that young man, and he deserves some of the credit that he's getting. He's coachable, and he's taking advantage of his opportunity to play college football.
Yeah, really nice to see him succeed and continue to grow and develop, not just as a player, but as a leader as well. You can definitely see that the defense leans on him and relies on him to make those plays and to kind of bring up the energy on the defensive side. Another leader that I want to highlight here is Alex Brown, who's back on the team this year, the nickel cornerback, had 3.5 tackles for loss in this game, just also has a great nose for the ball and makes plays in the backfield, and just really impressive start to the season for him. He was the leading tackler in the season opener against Catholic, had another great game here today, or this past weekend, 9 tackles for him. Talk a little bit about his impact on the defensive side.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Alex Brown's a young man who, this is going into my 4th season here, and I mean, he played right away as a freshman, and, there were probably, obviously being the O-line coach, maybe not watching every defensive snap, but, there were some lumps, there was some learning that took place over those 2.5, 3 years, and now you got a byproduct of a young man that's played a lot of snaps, and he's a senior, and he's played in round numbers 30, 35 football games, where sometimes a senior has only started 2, has started 3, at this point, or maybe 10. Well, he's reaping the benefits of all that learning that was taking place as a younger player, and that's been huge for him. Our confidence, I mean, he's definitely, one of the leaders on our defense and our team, and was voted to wear number 1 by our team, so that should speak volumes for the character of that young man.
Yeah, absolutely. And he definitely showed off a lot of those leadership qualities in this past weekend's game against William Patterson. But the one thing that the defense still needs to work on, and I think you can agree with this too, are the big plays. They've got a great nose for the ball. They can get the turnovers, but the big plays ultimately is what beat them this past weekend. How do you limit those big plays, and how do you work on trying to adjust that strategy moving forward? I know you're an offensive coach, but if you were on the defensive side, if you were working from that perspective, what would be your approach in that scenario?
Well, I think it's, just a matter of continuing to reps, continuing to believe in the system. And, it's a lot of times, especially on both sides of the ball, we have some young kids that are playing, some freshmen, some sophomores. Yeah. So it kind of goes back to some of that learning curve like we talked about with Bailey Himes, who we've talked about with Alex Brown, who have played a lot of snaps. And their time's going to come, and they just got to continue to keep grinding, enjoying the process, enjoying the grind of becoming great, because, there are some young players that are playing out there, and sometimes that's the byproduct of an 18-year-old going against a 21-year-old in a missed tackle, but just hanging in there and enjoying the process. And, they'll limit those big plays as those guys get more reps. There's no doubt in my mind, and our defensive staff will continue to just hone in those skills and make those kids great players. So, down the road, you have a collection of Alex Browns who are seniors that have played 30 games, that have played 35 games, not starting for the first time as a senior. No, they've started as freshmen.
Yeah, and you also had a couple injuries on the defensive side, too. A couple starters weren't in the lineup. You had to rely, as you mentioned, on some underclassmen playing in some big moments on the hill, in front of the tailgaters, in front of the crowd. There can be a lot of pressure associated with that.
Absolutely, and I say it all the time. You got, especially your younger kids, they're away from home for the first time. They're learning how to go to college. They're learning how to be college football players. Maybe some of them doing their laundry for the first time, and now you're plugging them in to play college football, a grown man's game, and injuries happen. Well, just keep taking advantage of those reps, and you never know when your time is up. And that's just the reality of the sport that we play. Injuries happen across the board, from Power 5 to the NFL to the Centennial Conference, and that's just the nature of the beast. But those kids that are in there playing, it's definitely not a lack of effort. Sometimes it's just a year in the weight room, shedding some pounds, adding some pounds, but the core is definitely there, and we got to continue to bring those guys along and get another great recruiting class and lean on our older guys that have played a lot of football. And it's exciting to see it kind of all come together. I know the fans want the win, but it's coming together, and I know we're moving in the right direction with Coach Fultz and our staff that we have with us here.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned the young guys too, that being able to come in for an injured player just gives them more game experience.
Absolutely.
They can get it done in practice, of course, every single week, but what really makes the difference is being able to make those plays in a game and make that translation from practice to a game. And the only way you do that is by playing. Playing those real games.
I'm a firm believer, and I know we don't want to get into practice structure, but it's not that exciting. But I'm a firm believer in the best way you get better at, especially football, is number one, getting thrown in the fire, and number two is playing real football. And that's what some of these guys are doing. And like I said before, they're learning how to be college students. They're learning how to be young men. And now you're also playing Centennial Conference football, which is a high level of football. So the learning is happening, and it's only going to continue to get better.
Yeah, exactly. And again, it's still early on in the season. You still got over half your schedule left. And the Centennial Conference schedule hasn't even started yet. So there's still a lot of time to get a feel for the team and what the team's strengths are and what the other things you guys need to work on are. And, you just got finished up with the non-conference schedule. So once you start to get into those Centennial games, you'll be able to figure that out a little bit more. But let's switch gears here and talk about the offensive performance. This is your side of the ball. So you have a little more understanding. You understand everything, but of course, on this side of the ball, you've got a little more in-depth knowledge into how the game plan and everything is structured and the personnel. So let's talk a little bit about the offense's performance. I talked with Skyler for the last couple episodes about the quarterbacks and how Eric Grinwis, the senior, was the starter going into this season. He started the first two games. He started this past weekend's game against the Pioneers. But you also got to see a little Angel Granado Jr., the sophomore backup quarterback. He got to see a couple series, mostly in the second half. What was the idea behind the two quarterback system in this game? Was it planned going into the game, or was it just because of how the game worked out that you decided to put Angel in there?
Well, I think it wasn't really in the plan, but we always know that Angel's a player that has played here. He's done a lot of good things for us in our program as a freshman, and we just needed a jump start. It wasn't like we were out lighting the world on fire, and it kind of started a little bit with the offensive line. Like we thought going into the game that we could run the ball and establish the run, and you know what, we just couldn't really quite get it going on Saturday. So let's do things to our players' skill sets, and Angel has the an ability to kind of be a running threat as a quarterback, and we decided to go with that, and it paid off. Angel had 60 yards of rushing in the second half, and it just brought a little bit different dynamic to that position, and maybe opened up the running lanes a little bit for the offensive line. And that was just a decision that Coach Fultz, quite frankly, he just made it. He's the head coach, and and he didn't want a discussion. He's like, hey, this is what we're doing, and showed great leadership, and everybody was right on board with it. So that was kind of that. But we knew going into the game that Angel could play, and we also wanted to make sure we got him on the field, and it's just kind of the way the game flowed, and that's how that kind of transpired, so to speak.
Yeah, because we saw Angel a lot last season. He started the back half of the 2023 season and looked good. 5 touchdown passes, 2 interceptions. He ran very well. He kept the ball out of harm's way, too. So we saw a lot of potential from him as a true freshman last year, and now we get to see him in some game action this year in a new offensive system, in Skyler's system. But let's talk a little bit about both Eric and Skyler. Eric got the start, struggled a little bit early on. He was pulled for Angel, but then he came back into the game in the third quarter and scored the only offensive touchdown of the game on a designed quarterback run, which, from my perspective, Eric is a true drop-back passer if there ever was one. He stays in the pocket for the most part, and Angel gives you that dual threat, like you mentioned. He's more versatile on the ground. You can run him 10 to 15 times a game, but Eric scored on a rushing touchdown that was designed for him to run. So that was a great play call, in my opinion, and it was executed to perfection, too.
Yeah, I think that was a little bit of Skyler maybe pulling one, Coach Fultz pulling one out of the cap a little bit. And we talked about it today in the staff meeting, like, not that Angel can't run it, but maybe get them off the scent and have Eric run one in. So a little bit of kind of trickery, gamesmanship. Both of them had repped the play during the week, but maybe just a little bit of gamesmanship right there to, again, just trying to get a spark with the offense and, get the game back into with a manageable, reach down the stretch. So.
Yeah, but even that drive leading up to the touchdown, you had both quarterbacks playing on that particular series. You had Angel make a nice 20-yard pass over the middle to Wesley Nchinda, which then set up Eric for the touchdown later on in the drive. So you saw some flashes here and there from both quarterbacks of being able to put together a consistent drive and lead the offense down the field. Do you think that drive in particular and the game as a whole will kind of dictate what you do with the quarterbacks moving forward as the season moves on here?
Yeah, I think it will a little bit, but I think more importantly, I think it just should reiterate, and that's what we talked about our guys in meetings today, is like stay in the game, stay in the moment. Like, you don't know when your number is going to be called, and that not so much the quarterback, but I feel like it was a statement for our entire program, our entire, offense. Like, we're going to keep fighting. We're going to keep swinging. We're going to get our best people on the field. And if that's a dual role, a full-time role, a key backup, like that's our job as coaches, is to get our best people on the field at every possible snap that we can. And that was just an example of utilizing our talents and utilizing the players that we have in their most successful ways, because we want guys to be successful, and that's going to obviously help us win some games. But more importantly, our job is to put players in position that they can be successful, and that drive kind of showed, that both players can be successful with Coach Fultz's offensive schemes.
Yeah, and there's a lot of potential there too, right? You could see that Angel had a lot of potential last year. Of course, Eric has shown a ton of potential over his career. He's a 400-yard passing game under his belt a couple years ago against Juniata. So we've seen the potential from both quarterbacks, but it's got to be said that adjusting to a new system with a new head coach who's the play caller, who's bringing in this high-powered spread offense, it can be a lot to adjust to, especially when you had a different system last year and you bring in a new head coach with a whole new philosophy this year. The learning curve is pretty steep, and we've seen that so far through 3 games, that there's a lot of potential there, and the offense has had some sparks here and there, but there's still a learning curve that comes with learning a new offense.
Oh, absolutely, and that's, again, I mean, it's just the hand that we've been dealt, and, the kids from day one and have really bought into it, and they're continuing to buy into it, and you can tell, with the sparks that we're having, we just need to keep that spark lit, so to speak, which, again, I know it's a broken record, but that'll come with time. And, heading into the bye week, we can, fine tune the things that we're really good at, and let's concentrate on those things. And that was a lot of the discussion in the staff meetings today. Like, let's, zero in on what we want to be successful at and really, hang our hat on, because it's not what I know, it's what they can execute.
Yeah. And
that's what we're doing moving forward.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about your unit, Dave, the offensive line. You were the head coach last year, but this year you're back focusing on the offensive line this year. How do you think your guys performed this past weekend against William Patterson? What are some things that you think they did well, and what are some things you want to try and work on in the coming weeks?
I think the number one most glaring thing is, we got to work on establishing the run early. And that's something that I really thought going into this game that we would have a really good chance at doing. And for whatever reason, we didn't. And we're not going to sit there and dwell on it, but we got to use it as a learning curve, like coming out and starting fast and establishing, dominance right from the beginning. And that was a little bit disappointing, especially with the amount of reps that we have with that group that have played a lot of snaps for us. But I did think we kind of hung in there a little bit. The running of the quarterback gave us some confidence. Maybe a stern talking to at halftime gave us a little bit more edge, which we needed, and me continuing to learn the group. And overall, I thought we protected the quarterback pretty good. We just got to continue to gain confidence and, believe in the fundamentals, because I think it goes back to what we talked about earlier. Like, you see it in practice, but now we got to carry it over into the game. And the best way to do that is to just continue to rep it. And when you rep it and gain confidence in practice, you're going to start seeing it in the game, and we're seeing flashes of it. And, we just need to keep staying together and moving forward as a group.
Yeah, exactly. You mentioned the quarterback running was so successful in the second half, and that doesn't happen without solid offensive line play. You got to have that protection up front to set up those runs and to give Angel or Eric, whoever's back there, time to set up the play and get outside or between the tackles, however you want to do it. But the quarterback run looked really successful from a game plan standpoint in the second half. And we talked a little bit with Skyler about how the quarterbacks and their legs and their mobility are going to be involved in the game plan moving forward. Do you think, from your perspective as the offensive line coach, that's going to be more of a component in the offensive game plan?
I absolutely think it will be, and I think that goes back to playing to what skill sets are our kids the best at, and it's clear that we have the ability to have flashes of being able to drop back and throw it. We have the ability to throw screens. We have the ability to run the quarterback, and again, that's our job, is to put those kids in the best case, in the best case to be successful. And that's, what we're going to do moving forward. And if that means playing multiple guys at that spot, having various packages, it's kind of a wide open canvas right now. And, 3 weeks in, and we'll continue to add, depth or, whatever to that canvas as we continue to go.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit now about your next game coming up. You got a bye week this upcoming weekend, so you got some time to rest and recover and tweak some things in practice, work on a couple more things, and then you've got another Friday night game. This time it's on the road against Gettysburg, the conference opener in the Centennial Conference this year. Talk a little bit about what you've seen from Gettysburg this year and how you plan on attacking them.
Well, I haven't had a chance to get too much into Gettysburg just yet, but they're a program that's pretty similar to us. They're fighting and clawing to get wins and trying to turn the corner a little bit. So and obviously with their location, they got new lights going up. It should be a great environment. I'm not trying to dodge your question. I just haven't really dug into Gettysburg. We did a lot of recruiting today and working on our own film study from the previous weekend. But my experience here over the last 3 seasons is it's kind of a lunch pail game. Both teams are working hard, and it's usually a 1-score, 1-possession game. I think 2 years ago we had a walk-off to win it. We had a chance to get back in the game last year, late in the game. 2 years ago it was 7-6, and we won because our defense made a great play on the goal line. So it's always a hard work, blue-collar kind of football game, that both teams are, obviously striving to win. So it should be a good game, and, we're gonna fight. I wasn't going to say what crossed my mind, but we're going to fight like get that win.
It's a
and
family
come back,
program, of
and
course.
come back successful. I am, the last Friday night was good to us, so I'm, hopefully this coming Friday night will be good to us as well.
Sure, yeah, but of course the big difference is that the season opener against Catholic, that Friday night game was in the friendly confines of Gill Stadium here in Westminster, and this game upcoming in 2 weeks will be on the road at Gettysburg in a hostile environment against a conference opponent. How do you prepare for an environment like that when it's a Friday night game? It's not something that you're used to playing a lot. You normally play on Saturday afternoons, and this is on the road too. How do you go into the preparation process for a game like that in that kind of environment?
Yeah, I don't think you want to, obviously we don't want to switch up, everything that we're doing, but I think the competitor in you, loves going into that hostile environment. Like that's the fun part of it. That's why we do it. Like, let's wreck their lighting ceremony. Like let's be the bad cop.
Yeah.
Let's go in there with the swagger, and let's make sure that we make it very difficult and come away with that win. But in terms of preparation, that's the fun part of it, but the meat of the work is going to be done during the week, and we're not going to change our practice structure. We're not going to, necessarily change what we do. It just knows that it's going to be a little bit more heightened environment when we're there, and that's what, makes it fun, and that's why you come to McDaniel College to play in, big football games like this. Not everybody gets a chance to play college football games on a Friday night. that's something that the administration, Jeremy Shepard, our athletic director, set up with Catholic. Now we got a chance to go play another Friday night game. I mean, that's all things that you add in the recruiting element, and that's why you come to a place like McDaniel where you get those opportunities to do maybe some outside of the box, game day environment. So that's just the special part. But in terms of the overall preparation, you just got to, prepare like you always prepare. And then the bonus is getting a chance to play at night under the lights and rekindle those high school football dreams one more time.
Yeah, right. I mean, how cool is it to have not one Friday night game, but two in one season? I mean, whether it's on the road or not, that's still a great opportunity for many of these kids that, have been here for a couple of years at McDaniel and haven't had the chance to play a Friday night game at all. You've got 2 in 1 year. I think that really says a lot about the hype and the positive energy around this program, you've got 2 Friday games in a year. That's great.
I think it's awesome. Like I said, I mean, I was looking at our schedule the other day because I do a lot of the recruiting stuff. I mean, and we're like Power 5. Like, we have like 5 different kickoff times. We have a noon, we have a 7, we have a 2 o'clock. Like, it's just kind of the excitement of it, and it's just not the, kind of breaks up the routine and, gives us something a little bit different every week. So you're not in just that wake up, play. You got a different element to it. I mean, this past weekend we had 46 recruits here on campus. For Catholic, we had about 10 for under the lights, and we got a couple other games at different times. So you got to be fun and be creative with it, and just enjoy it, because you don't always get those at every school or every year. So I just say enjoy it and let's go play.
Yeah.
If it was up to me, we'd kick them off at 9 a.m. so we can just wake up, play, and let's go. But
any advantage you can get, any edge you can get. Well, that's great. Well, you mentioned too that you're involved a lot in the recruiting process. How does having multiple night games in a season improve your chance at gaining a prospect when they see that you're playing under the lights, when you're playing these big, meaningful primetime games? How does that aid you in your recruiting efforts?
Well, I think it just heightens the environment. I mean, if you were at the Catholic game, I mean, that was just an awesome environment, and there were, the tailgating, the music playing, all of that stuff just adds to it. And then you throw in the stadium and the hill, and all of that adds to it, and it just makes it a great festive environment. I mean, I tell people all the time, like, it's not the same number, but per capita, I mean, I'd put the tailgating up against the tailgating at Maryland. Now, again, it's not 100,000 people, but you walk down that hill on game day, I mean, you see people grilling, you see music playing. I mean, it's just an awesome environment. So I think just those night games and doing different kickoff times just adds to the already self-created environment that we have on the hill. Yeah,
and it absolutely adds a lot to the experience. When kids come to campus and they can see that environment, they can see how many people are tailgating, they're pulling their cars up right next to the stadium, and it does have that big-time college feel, even though McDaniel's just a small liberal arts college. You have that big game environment, that big game feel, and that's got to be a great draw for kids that are looking to come continue their careers here, especially for Skyler, because now he's in his first year as the head coach, and he's trying to build his own recruiting base. He's trying to establish something here as a recruiter that he hasn't done here yet. So I think that's really got to be great for him to see that so many people are still supporting this team and coming out for these night games, because that gives him a big edge in the recruiting aspect too.
Yeah, I mean, it's been really good recruiting, and again, it was like electric against Catholic. It was a great environment Saturday with just having the recruits on the sideline, and then they go back and tell their buddy, like, hey, it was awesome there. Then their buddy wants to come visit, and their buddy, then it's just a trickle down effect. So I say it all the time, whenever you can have kids on campus, you get them on campus. And with social media, Snapchat, Instagram, social medias I don't even know about. I mean, these kids communicate with each other like no other. So word spreads. I mean, and we'll have plenty of guys on campus the next, home games as well.
Yeah. We're at McDaniel Athletics on social media, on Instagram, if you want to follow us. We got lots of cool content, not to shamelessly plug, but I'm going to. All right. Well, Dave, thank you so much. This has been great talking a little McDaniel football with you. Again, you got the bye week coming up this week. You got some time to rest and recover and work on the game plan before you head on the road up to Gettysburg to take on the Bullets, the conference opener. Really excited to see not only what the offense does with the two quarterbacks now getting some playing time in these first couple of games, but to see how the defense continues their good start to the season as well, improving on slowing down those big plays, improving in the run game, and getting those turnovers too. We've seen a lot of flashes from both sides of the ball, and you're hoping against the conference, the first conference opponent of the year in Gettysburg, that you can start to put those things together, especially now that you've got the bye week. You've got some extra time to prepare.
Yeah, I mean, it's always nice to have a bye, just a chance to kind of sit back and, evaluate things, see where you're at, and, but at the same time kind of get back to the basics and just, get ready to play. And we got a great stretch of conference games coming up, and just really excited about the future and really excited to get up to Gettysburg and, get a chance to compete under the lights and have a great night.
Yeah, as am I. Really excited to see how that game goes for us. Well, Dave, you've been great. Thank you so much for pinch hitting here for Skyler today, for coming on short notice. We appreciate it. Really good to talk some McDaniel football with you.
Well, thanks, guys. I appreciate it, and more than happy to pinch hit any chance I get. So I appreciate what you guys do, and go Green Terror.
David Sarton, the offensive line coach for the McDaniel Green Terror football program, the interim head coach from 2023. Thanks so much for coming on. We'll take a quick break here and come back with Larry Luth, the head coach of the Liberty High School Lions, after this break. This is Sports Talk at the Island Green.
Welcome to Island Green, Westminster. The Pub and Grill offers a variety of food in a family-friendly atmosphere. Live music, private suites, miniature golf. Learn more at islandgreenwestminster.com. Island Green, Westminster.
Hello, I'm Rachel Cash, the director of the Be a Ray of Sunshine Foundation. We established the foundation to honor our beloved daughter, Mackenzie Ray, a class of 2026 Westminster High School student who tragically passed away in December 2022. Mackenzie was a kind, passionate individual who cared deeply about anti-bullying, volleyball, her family and friends, and she dreamed of becoming a military nurse. Our mission is to continue Mackenzie's legacy by advocating for anti-bullying initiatives, youth mental health awareness, compassion for animals, and by providing scholarships for students with similar interests. With 1 in 5 U.S. youth facing a mental health disorder each year, and suicide being the second leading cause of death among teens, our work is more crucial now than ever. We are dedicated to creating a safe and supportive environment for our youth through collaboration with parents, schools, legislators, and community leaders. We are honored to receive the Community Foundation of Carroll County's 2024 Philanthropist of the Year Rising Star Award, a testament to the positive impact we're making in our community. Visit BRAEofSunshineFoundation.com to find out how you can contribute. Together we can make a meaningful difference and bring a ray of sunshine to the youth in our community. Thank you for your support.
Skill, dedication, leadership. Just a few of the things it takes to be named CM Sportsnet's Athlete of the Week. Hi, I'm Pat Stetzer. Each week, CM Sportsnet recognizes an outstanding player for their contribution to their sport. Meet some of Carroll County student athletes and join us as we celebrate their performance, impact, and outstanding accomplishments.
CM Sportsnet Athlete of the Week is brought to you by Barnes Bollinger Insurance and by Raisin Canes.
We're back at the Island Green, segment 2 of our 3rd episode of Sports Talk at the Island Green here on Carroll Media Center. Avery Newport back here for segment 2 with Larry Luth, the head coach of the Liberty Lions. Liberty Lions. That's a kind of a tongue twister when you first say it, right?
Larry Luth.
Yeah, Larry Luth, Liberty Lions. Lots of L's thrown in there, Coach. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Well, thank you for having us. It's always exciting and great to promote high school football in the area. We're real proud of the coaches of Carroll County. I feel like we work hard, give our kids a lot of opportunity to excel, and it's a lot of fun to be around the kids, and we appreciate any support that we get from Central Maryland media.
Yeah. Well, we're happy to help to amplify your program and give you that support here on local TV and on YouTube as well. Always exciting to highlight the local programs here around the area. Tell me a little bit about your team this year. How have you guys fared so far in your schedule? Who are some key players that you've leaned on in the first couple of weeks, and how do you think the season's gone so far?
Well, we struggled week 1. We played Walkersville. We might have been punching above our weight class right there a little bit. But it's always a good test for us, and we'll continue to play them. We're young on the offensive and defensive line, or maybe not young, but inexperienced. And it's a growing process, and we really have to get better in those 2 areas. We're excited we returned Chase Miller, who was the top quarterback in the county last year, and we've returned our best running back and our best receiver, Tristan West. So we're able to throw the ball, and we've gotten really good at pass protection. But our run game is a developing process.
Yeah, work in progress.
So we're and we have to stop the run. So we're spending a lot of time with the O-line, D-line, and just trying to get better. It's a daily grind, and just keep trying to improve a little bit every game.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you won your first game of the season this past weekend on the road at Manchester Valley, 31-26, the final score, first win of the year. How do you think that game went for you guys? I mean, you obviously held tough to win a close game on the road against another local team in Carroll County. Tell me about how you think your team performed in that win.
We started off really well. We were a lot like the Ravens. We went out 28-6.
Oh, wow. Same score even.
Yeah. And then unfortunately we couldn't stop the run. We let them get back into the game. We threw a key pick in the fourth quarter, but even though we gave up the touchdown, our defense held really strong, and we were able to stop the 2-point conversion. So it was a positive, and we were able to take it down the field, kick a field goal, and stop them down the end of the game. Again, we're so inexperienced at the line that it's just a couple technique things that we will keep working on and keep improving. Our defense coordinator, Spencer Karen, did a great job this week. He showed, actually today in the meetings, he showed clips of the same plays being run by the same defense, and just the little details that made a difference of us stopping a play or giving up a 8 or 9 yard run. So we'll keep fine-tuning those things and working on those details, and hopefully the kids will get it and get better at it. And they're young, but we're growing. We're staying positive. The kids are staying positive. Practices I can't complain about. Practices have been great with this group. There's a lot of energy and a lot of excitement. So we're excited to work with them, and we're excited to have them there.
Yeah, and that's really, we've talked with a couple coaches here for the first couple weeks, and that's really what a lot of the learning curve is, just trying to get things right in practice, just doing the little things correctly from week to week. And especially with a young group like you mentioned you have, those little things can really make a big difference. Once you kind of hammer those things out and get those things under control, just working on the basic fundamentals, then you can see a lot of progress starting to come when you master those things.
Absolutely. And we feel like our skills can play with anybody in the county. Like I said, Tristan West has already, 16 catches for 285
I like the
yards.
notes. You got the notes here, man. You came prepared today. I like it.
I would love to see Chase's completion percentage up, but he's got 30 completions for 490 yards. So we can throw the football. We ran the ball a little bit better last week. So we'd like to see improvement in the run game. And, we're playing FSK this week, and, they're going to be tough. They got a lot of confidence. And so it's an opportunity for us to show how much we've improved over the week.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about this upcoming game this weekend against Francis Scott Key. It's a home game for you guys at 6:30 this Friday afternoon. So tell me a little bit about this FSK team from what you've seen in your preparation for them. And, again, they're 3-0 on the year. They've gotten off to a good start. So what is the early approach for you in your preparation to trying to stop this Francis Scott Key team?
Well, the first thing is to recognize that they're 3-0, so they're gonna have a lot of confidence,
right.
Which bodes well for them. So we have to really understand it's important for us to get off to a fast start. We try to have to shake them up early and not let them get comfortable, because once they do, their confidence is going to shine through. They're talented. Dave Cunningham, the head coach, has done a great job with them. He's got them believing in themselves. They run a system that they'll go from 4 wide to trips to the old double wing. And,
wow.
Yep, so you got to be prepared.
Yeah, lots of different styles there.
A lot of different styles. They have a really good running back, number 3, Jermaine Dawson. Yes, I brought notes because I didn't want to just
prepared
call
not just for your team, for them too. That's a coach right there. That's how a coach prepares.
I just didn't want to call them by their numbers. But number 4, Bryson Lookinbill. Yes, they're probably their best receiver. They have talent all over the place, and they do a couple different things, and they do them really well. So we're going to have to figure out how to stop the run, and we're also going to have to figure out how to stop the pass. So it's a challenge for us, and we're excited. And then defensively, Mike Krause came over from South Carroll, and I had one of the older coaches that's no longer with us was looking at tape, and he took one look at the defense and went, they must have a South Carroll disciple on that team. I said, no, actually, it's Mike himself coaching.
Wow.
He brings people from everywhere all the time. So with our lack of success in the run game, we're going to see a lot of pressure, a lot of stunts. Better get used to some linebackers coming at us.
Yeah.
So we got a lot of work this week to get ready.
Oh, yeah. But I think if there's any time to play this Francis Scott Key team, it's right now, because you just came off of your first win of the season on the road against another Carroll County team in Man Valley. And that was a game where you had a big lead early, and then Man Valley was able to come back late, and you still held on for the win. I think those are a lot of positive things right there that you can, one, build a big lead and then keep a big lead down the stretch against a county opponent. I think that really bodes well for your team and your confidence heading into another big game this week.
Well, I appreciate the optimism. No, but I agree with you. I think close games can galvanize teams. So it can bring us together. We had a great practice today. We did all our special teams and installed some things that we expect to see and some things that we would like to do. And everybody was dialed in. Everybody was understanding what we're trying to do and how we're trying to get better. And to me, that's the most important thing. Everybody can all coaches have a philosophy, and especially in Carroll County, they do a good job with their system. It's getting everybody to buy into the system. And as Coach Sarton just said, it's finding out what part of your system plays up to your kids' talents.
Yeah.
And I think that's where we are. We're starting to figure out who we are, what our identity is going to be. And we have to play up to that and keep developing our identity. And then you have a little wrinkle outside of that hopefully you get a big play here and there. But what is your meat and potatoes? What's your fundamentals going to be?
Yeah.
And we're starting to figure that out. And that's what happens with a young team. You don't go in knowing, and you're developing it.
Yeah, so how much learning have you had to do with this team this year? You mentioned that you're very young up front on the offensive line. The defense has some younger players playing important roles as well. How much have you, Larry, as a coach this year, had to learn with what you've had with this team and how to adjust with having such a young team?
I think adjusting is you have to, again, figure out what they want, what they can do. I think when we struggled early, your initial reaction is all just keep adding. Well, we need to do this, we need to do that, instead of focusing on what are we doing well. And I think we've took a step back and said, okay, what are we good at? What can we eliminate?
Yeah.
What are we not doing well? Let's get that out. And then it comes down to execution. How can we set up practices that put kids in a stressful situation so they're executing Monday through Thursday, and Friday becomes just more repetition for them. So that's hard for us, but I have a great staff. I have Rick Anderson, who's been there forever, Spencer Kieran, who played 4 years at Muhlenberg.
Wow. Okay. Nice.
He was actually an All-American, but he played for us at Liberty.
Great.
And he's coming back. He's running the defense. We've added. You talk about things going around in a circle. So our newest coach, Steve Pfister, his dad was my coach at Mount Hebron in the early 80s.
Well,
so
how about that?
Yeah, so I'm now
cool.
His son's working with me. He played at Maryland. He played at high school at St. Joe. Then he was a walk-on at Maryland.
Great.
So we have him on staff, and then, Joe Casey, Greg Hall, they've been there forever. So we love our staff. We have a McDaniel graduate, Jared Pfeiffer,
nice. Working
with receivers and D-backs. Again, he's a kid that played at Liberty. So he's coming back. It's always great to get kids back involved.
Yeah.
So we're excited. But we're young as a staff too. But we're starting to figure it out, and we'll play our our best football is coming.
Yeah, right.
We're very confident of that.
Yeah, it's the same thing that we've talked about with Skyler before and with Dave today. That it's still early on in the season. This applies both to McDaniel football and you guys at Liberty. That there's still a lot of time left to learn about your team and what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, and to work through both of those things, to try and improve the things that you're good at and to try and continue to work on the things that you need to improve on. So, again, you've only played 3 games. You've got the rest of your season left to go. There's still a lot of time to find out what your strengths and weaknesses are. And from our conversation right now, it seems like your biggest strength on the offensive end anyway is in the passing game with Chase Miller and Tristan West. So how do you think those guys have really, taken the leadership roles on your offense, and how do you think they've elevated your offense to this point in the season?
Chase has tremendous confidence in Tristan.
Great.
And, Tristan's, for a high school kid, he's 6'4", 210 pounds, and he's strong as an ox. So he's a pain for teams to try to try to cover. That's going to be the chess match we have on Friday. Is are they going to double him? Are they going to single him? Or are they going to not let us throw the ball to him? And then we have some speed with a young guy named, actually he's a senior, but a smaller guy named Dave Ackenbowie. He ran a 10.900, so he's got some speed. We have to develop the passing game. Our where we have to really improve is our completions. Our completion percentage is down around 45, and I really want to see it up around 55 if we're going to throw the ball as much as we're planning on throwing it. And then we have to find something that we're good at in the running game, something that we can hang our head. We don't have to run everything, but we have to find 1 or 2 things that we feel real comfortable in that 3rd and 3 that we know it's going to give us a good shot to get the first down.
Yep. Well, again, you talked about Tristan West being 6'4". That's got to be a huge advantage for him as a receiver to be able to beat those one-on-one matchups and to have the size of almost a tight end, really. If you match him up against a smaller corner or a linebacker, it's over. If you got him running down the field, forget about it. That's
Tristan has really committed this summer to being the best football player he can. His bench before the season started was 260, and he squatted around 500 pounds. So he's really put in the work in the weight room.
Great.
And he will line up at tight end for us. He'll line up at wing for us. But he's more comfortable outside. We have another sophomore that we think is a pretty good tight end type. So we have kids that can catch the ball. We just have to get better. We have to execute better in practice. Sometimes I think we get lackadaisical in practice. So, we've been talking about how we can pick up the focus and get completions in practice. And again, once we do that, we know it'll carry over into the game.
Larry, with such a young team this year, what is your benchmark for this season to be considered a success in your mind?
I've never been a wins and losses person. What I've always wanted to do is when you look at the tape, in the beginning of the year, the middle of the year, and the end of the year, without knowing the game, somebody could put them in the correct order just by the improvement of how you play. I want any kid that has the ability to play at the next level. That's always a success for me. I know this is corny and it goes way back, but I have one of my former players just started medical school this summer.
Wow, that's great.
I have when I see what the kids are doing down the future, my wife was at a wedding. I didn't go. It was a Friday night wedding. Who gets married on Friday in football? But my wife.
Come on, man. Got to know better than that.
But my wife went to the wedding, and talking to some of the former players that were at the wedding, some of the things they did has let me know that again, you don't want to say, it sounds cliche, it's not about wins and losses, but in high school football, it's truly not. It's can you develop the young men into the people that they have the ability to be?
Yeah.
Can they see that the sacrifices that they make to be on the football team pay off down the road? Yeah, we want to win every game, every Friday night. That's the most important thing. But the rest of the week, let's focus on improvement.
Yeah.
And hopefully the winning will take care of itself.
Yeah, and just becoming better people down the road, as you said, too. That's so important. I mean, that applies to every level, but especially at the high school and the college levels when you're not yet a professional, when you're not at that level yet, you're still trying to grow these men into real, productive members of society. And I think it starts at the high school level. And I totally agree. That's a great way to judge the success of a team, is whether you can develop players, not just as football players, but as good people, too, who can help in their community and all that stuff.
Yeah. And truthfully, the kids that I've had that have played at the next level have all been great students.
Yeah.
It's not a magic pill. There's no magic. I love Nick Saban's quote, how you do anything's how you do everything. It's true. You look at somebody who excels in the classroom, excels on the athletic field, they're the ones that are going to excel in life.
Yeah, for sure.
That's the message you want to get through to your high school kids.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Larry, this has been great. You've got some great athletes in the classroom, some great guys on the field, and hopefully that translates to some more success for you guys in the win column this year. Thanks so much for coming on today and talking about your team, and good luck this week against Francis Scott Key.
Thank you, Avery. I appreciate you having us, and I definitely appreciate you supporting high school sports.
Of course, absolutely. That's what we're here for, to highlight these programs and yours with Liberty. Larry Luth, head coach of the Liberty Lions. Thanks so much for coming on. This has been segment 2. We'll come back in a little bit and come up with some more topics. We'll mostly talk about Maryland sports at large right here on Sports Talk at the Island Green.
Welcome to Island Green, Westminster. The Pub and Grill offers a variety of food in a family-friendly atmosphere. Live music, private suites, miniature golf. Learn more at islandgreenwestminster.com. Island Green, Westminster.
Skill, dedication, leadership. Just a few of the things it takes to be named CM Sportsnet's Athlete of the Week. Hi, I'm Pat Stetzer. Each week, CM Sportsnet recognizes an outstanding player for their contribution to their sport. Meet some of Carroll County student athletes and join us as we celebrate their performance, impact, and outstanding accomplishments.
CM Sportsnet Athlete of the Week is brought to you by Barnes Bollinger Insurance and by Raising Cane's.
You can help shape the future. Attend the Kiwanis Youth Leadership Forum. Join us on October 1st at 6:30 p.m. in the Exploration Commons at the Westminster branch of the Carroll County Public Library for a community forum on youth leadership education. Learn from experienced professionals about the essential leadership skills young people need to succeed, including problem solving, communication, and teamwork. Investing in youth leadership education is vital for building a stronger community. It empowers young people to become active citizens, solve complex problems, and create positive change. Kiwanis has a proven track record of empowering young people to become positive forces in their communities. Join us to learn how you can contribute to this important work and help shape the future of our county. Kiwanis invites you to be part of this inspiring community event. Your participation will make a difference in the lives of young people.
Hey there, I'm Pat Stetzer.
And I'm Michael Duffy, inviting you to join us for The Score and more.
Each week we'll talk about high school sports in Carroll County. We'll share information about upcoming games, highlight coaches and athletes, and much more.
We'll even try to have a little fun along the way. Don't miss the Score and More podcast presented by CM Sportsnet.
The Score and More Sports podcast is available online at carrollmediacenter.org and on a variety of podcast channels.
Brought to you by Farmers and Merchants Bank.
We're back. Final segment here for Sports Talk at the Island Green. Just me up here for the little recap segment that we're going to have for some Maryland sports. We'll talk a little Ravens, a little Orioles, and a little Terps. and we'll send you home on this Monday evening. We'll first start with the Ravens here. Of course, they won their first game of the season this past weekend on the road in Dallas against the Cowboys. 28-25 was the final score. Derrick Henry looked phenomenal. His best game as a Raven so far through 3 games. 151 yards on the ground and a touchdown for him. So nice to see Henry kind of come into his own here and really prove that he's still got those top running back abilities. He's 30 years old. You know, he's starting to get up there in terms of age, but really happy to see that Henry is back, returning to form for the Ravens this year. Really happy to see that signing has paid off, especially after this performance against the Cowboys. And I think the defense, even though they looked a little bit shaky there towards the end of the second half, of course they built that big 28-6 lead and only ended up winning 28-25. So the defense with a little lapse there in the second half, but they held on late to win that game on the road. And more than anything, really, it's just important that the Ravens got on the board and just won a game to start the year. You lose the opener against Kansas City. You lose your home opener in Week 2 against a Raiders team that, on paper, you should beat 9 times out of 10. Just not a good start to the season, but I think the Ravens made some pretty tremendous strides in this Week 3 win against a good Cowboys team, a team that, unless they don't fix their own issues at some point this season, should probably be in the playoffs come season's end. That's a good win on the road against a good Cowboys team. Very happy to see the Ravens get off the schneid early and take that win on the road. We'll talk a little Terps here, moving on to the Maryland Terrapins. They won at home on Saturday 38-20 over the Villanova Wildcats, the final score from College Park. Billy Edwards had a tremendous game as the signal caller for Maryland. And you really got to be impressed with Ty Felton here early on in the season. 14 catches for him, 157 yards receiving, and a touchdown. Felton has really come into his own in this offense. I thought that Felton maybe would take a step back this year, and Caden Prather, the transfer from West Virginia, would kind of take over as the lead receiver in the offense. He's got size, he's got strength, but Felton has been the go-to guy for the Terps so far through their first couple games of the season. Really impressed with his output so far this year and excited to see where the Terps take this moving forward. They've got their second Big Ten game and their first Big Ten game of the year on the road coming up against the Indiana Hoosiers this upcoming weekend. So, of course, the Big Ten is a gauntlet, as it is every year, and it's not going to get any easier now that you've got the 4 new Pac-12 schools joining the fold this year. So it's going to be a challenge, certainly, for Maryland. And against a team like Indiana, you've got to get those wins against the lower tier of the conference before you face off against the USCs, against the Ohio States, and the Michigans, and the Oregons, too, all of which are on Maryland's schedule this year. So against a team like Indiana, even if it's a road game, even if it's a conference game, got to win those games. We've seen a lot of potential from the offense so far. The defense has made some strides as well, but I think we need to see a little bit more of a leap from them come Big Ten play. But the offenses look great so far, and they look good this past weekend against Villanova. We'll recap some Orioles for you here quickly, and then we'll send you off to enjoy the rest of your Monday. The Orioles, currently as it stands right now, they've got a 4-game lead in the American League wild card chase. The division is all but out of reach for them, unfortunately. They're 6 games behind the Yankees, and they start a series with the Yankees, a 3-game set with New York up in the Bronx starting on tomorrow night. And that's going to be an uphill battle, certainly, because the Yankees are proven to be the best team in the American League, especially in the division at this point. But in the entire AL as a whole, they've proven to be the top dog so far. And the Orioles have really struggled with injuries to the pitching staff and to the lineup this year. So it's been a struggle down the stretch for the O's. Hopefully, though, they can win a couple of games in this last week of the regular season, build up some momentum into the playoffs, and hopefully start to get on the right track here. Again, the last 2 series of the regular season are not going to be easy by any stretch at all for Baltimore. They've got the Yankees, of course, for a 3-game set on the road, and then they end the year with the Minnesota Twins, who are right behind the Orioles in the wild card chase, just a game out of that 3rd and final spot. So you've got 2 teams that are both fighting for playoff positioning here, and the Orioles are really going to have to bring their A game if they want to continue to maintain their stranglehold on the 1st seed in the wild card standings in the American League. But excited to see how the Orioles fare this week. and wrap up the regular season in baseball. The Orioles are going to make the postseason no matter what, at least we think. Barring some historic collapse, the Orioles are going to be there, and I'm excited to see how the Orioles can respond to these next 2 series coming up. And most importantly, if they can get some of their best bats back in the lineup and some of their pitchers back in the lineup as well. Again, they've been decimated by injuries in the second half, so hopefully those guys will be ready to play in the playoffs in the next couple of weeks. Well, that's going to wrap up our coverage here today of Maryland sports at large. And for our third episode as a whole, really have to give a big shout-out here to David Sarton, who came in on short notice filling in for Skyler. Great conversation with him today. Larry Luth as well from Liberty High School. Thanks so much for him for coming on and for all of you for watching. This has been Sports Talk at the Island Green. I'm Avery Newport saying so long from Westminster. Enjoy the rest of your Monday. We'll be back next week. Take care.